It's the Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. Blitz just dropped the hammer on that one. You're on 94.5 FM on the go at ESPNSA.com. You know, we have talked about The Last Dance for the last 5 weeks, and thank God it was available to us. Oh, so many questions answered, and so many more were brought up. And the flu game is one that I think will linger on for a long time. We'd like to welcome onto the show. His name is Craig Fite, coming to us from Utah, who was, in fact, the gentleman that delivered the pizza on that fateful night. Welcome on the show, Craig Fite. We are so glad to have you aboard today.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate the chance to talk.
All right, Craig, so many questions about the flu game, but let's get a little background. I mean, clearly you posted this on Facebook, and then looking at your Facebook, a lot of your friends have heard you tell the Michael Jordan, I delivered a pizza to him during the playoff story for years. So it's not like your friends hadn't heard you talk about this before. When they were talking about the pizza during The Last Dance, your friends knew they were talking about you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got text messages and people asking me, oh my gosh, it was you. And having been a high school football coach for the last bunch of years, I've got football players who I've told the story to. Is just, as a coach, you're telling stories to the kids about your life and stuff. And so I even got kids on there who were saying, Coach, you're the man, you're a legend, way to go. Had no idea, it's cool, that kind of stuff. So it was neat.
Craig Fite joining us here on ESPN San Antonio as we talk about The Last Dance and the change in what everybody assumed was history. Heck, there's a pair of shoes I own named for the game, the flu games. When you heard on the episode that it wasn't a flu, he was poisoned, what was your first thought?
Well, I would tell you this, that since this happened, I've known that some people had thought that he got sick something on there, and a friend of mine finally sent me something to verify, because obviously, as you can imagine, after 23 years, trying to remember exactly what was it someone that said something during pregame, which I always thought it was, or something along those lines. But Stuart Scott, even God rest his soul, loved Stuart Scott, but he even said on the Sports Center that night, which people can look up on that YouTube for the archive, that he even said, hey, Michael had shown up like the flu, or maybe it was takeout as room service had stopped in Park City in his dwelling or whatever. But anyway, I've always, it was always kind of one of those things where it was always insinuated that, maybe he got sick off of the pizza. So I've always told the story about, everyone says it's the flu game, and he didn't have the flu, which, by the way, I still to this day still haven't figured out why it's so important that it was a food poisoning story instead of the flu. I mean, the game itself was amazing and awesome. How does it change that it was food poisoning instead of the flu? Either way, it was an amazing feat. Anyway, so I kind of knew what was going on when that happened. I've always known about that. And then after, what really got me was when during the Last Dance, when the trainer was being very emphatic about the fact, and it pretty much, as everyone has been mentioning, he was saying 5 guys showed up to deliver the pizza, and it was crazy. They got Michael sick on purpose. And that I was like, all right, I've had enough of this crap. That is not what happened. There were not 5 of us. There were 2 of us. And that's it. The security was never going to let 5 guys into the freaking place anyway. So anyway, sorry, got on a tangent there.
Well, no, Craig, so I mean, I think that's the part that everybody's kind of having trouble. Monday was, how did they even get there? I mean, these were different times, obviously. So, I mean, can you walk us through? I mean, was it as simple as like, hey, this pizza's for Michael Jordan? I mean, like, what went into everything?
So, what basically happened was the driver took the call. Well, let me preface it by saying, I keep doing that. It's fun after all these interviews. Let me preface by saying.
How many interviews have you done on this, by the way, out of curiosity?
Enough. A fair amount. I've been on quite a few places as soon as it happened. And my wife keeps laughing at me. She's like, you're the one that started this. And so, so what ended up happening was, the driver was taking a call, let me step back. The Bulls generally, when they had ordered a couple times from us already. And when they ordered 10 pizzas at a time. So when we got the call at night, and Michael had said it on the Last Dance that it was around 10 o'clock that night. And it was later in the evening. We were about to close or at the last hour. And so when the driver got it, he motioned me over and pointed at the pad, and he said, he just finished the order, hung up the phone. He says, "Hey, I think this is the Bulls." He goes, I don't know who it is, but I think it's for the Bulls. We're sending something to the Marriott. I'm like, all right, well, cool. I said, oh, well, and jokingly, I, of course, said, well, I can't by the way, I'm the only Bulls fan in the store. I've got wagers going, all that fun stuff, but I'm the only Bulls fan in the store. And I said, I'm making this because I don't trust any of you guys.
Okay, Craig, I want to stop you right there. Hang on, right there, because Minix and I are in this ongoing debate, Craig. I believe that there was never really any concern anybody in the room was going to poison Michael, that you were just offended and just jokingly said, I'm going to take care of this because I don't want you idiots to, poison the food of my favorite guy. Were you in the least concern, or was there legitimate concern that one of the other guys, the Jazz fans that you were working around, might put a little something on the pizza?
No, not even kind of. These were all good guys that I worked with, and no, it was always a running joke. In fact, I got a call that night when they found it the night after when they announced that he was sick, and I got a call from work, and I can't remember the details of it, but one of the guys was giving me a hard time. He's like, "Way to go, you got Michael sick." Hey, you're helping us.
See, because everybody else in the room except you were Jazz fans trying to get their team a little bit of an advantage, and if you could have slowed MJ down, you could have been the 6-man winner for the Jazz that year.
Exactly. That's what was the whole thing. And it's so funny because, I run with that joke and have said that forever. But then when this whole thing came up, I'm like, oh, crap, guys. No, I'm not trying to commit a felony and poison freaking Michael Jordan. Anyway, so it's been funny that way. But so anyway, I made the pizza, and I've said it before. I kind of geeked out. I made sure the pizza was done right. All the food was proper. I have obviously it's gotten out that it was Pizza Hut, and I tell people I'm still expecting a phone call from them. But hey, they were great. The company was great. It was all I properly trained, all that stuff. I was new. I'd only been there for about 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. That's what I remember. And so everything was trying to be proper. Everything was good, and of course we also. The rest of that time, I had actually gotten a phone call later on about making sure that anybody else gets sick if this is a problem. No, nobody else got reported being sick, all that fun stuff. But anyway, so I make the pizza. I look at the driver. I said, let's go. I'm going. And the reason why 2 of us went was because it was my first delivery. And, of course, that's not abnormal to have someone with you to teach you the ropes, say, hey, this is how you do it. But as I tell people, let's be honest, it was the Bulls. We were going to the Marriott. We knew the Bulls were there. We had no idea at the time who the pizza was for, but it was a chance to go in there and meet some Bulls. So why not? That's kind of why both of us went. But anyway, you had to, when you pulled up, the Marriott was it's at the end of the bottom of Main Street, Park City, and it was relatively new. So when you pulled into this cul-de-sac, which is about 5 minutes from the Pizza Hut, you get in there, security guy there sees you through, and then of course we're dressed up in our Pizza Hut garb. You got a hat, the jacket, the big red bag, all that fun stuff. And it goes, I go in and the guy waves us in. And from that standpoint, we get in there, you smell the cigar smoke and stuff. You know, you're in the right area. And we get into the elevator and we go up, and I want to say it was the second floor. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the second floor. But anyway, so we get out, and of course you get punched in the face with the smell of cigar smoke. Because cigars obviously are powerful.
Yep.
And so we go in there, and what I've told people, and I don't remember who this is, which player it was. I'm pretty sure I know it was a player. I just can't remember who, but it wasn't it wasn't Pippen, Rodman, or Kukoc, because I obviously would remember if any of them asked. But whoever it was asked me, say, oh, pizza, hey, who's that for? And we don't know who it was for. So I said a room number. I said, I don't know, it's for a room, whatever. And I can't remember the number it was, but he goes, oh, that's Mike's. Never mind. Get out of here. Whatever. He pushed me on.
Because they knew, from what we learned in The Last Dance, Michael Jordan wasn't going to share, period. He wasn't going to share.
From that standpoint, yeah. I know. And once you said the room number, obviously nobody was going to mess with his stuff, as we found out. But so I go up to the door, and I'm maybe 10 seconds we knew that this was Michael Jordan that we were delivering it to. So I knock on the door, and the trainer opens the door. He doesn't open it up very much. He just kind of, enough for his head so he can see what's going on. I announce we're from, Pizza Hut Delivery. Give him the price. Say, here goes pizza. And he says, okay. And then he shuts the door and comes back, a few seconds later, or whatever, with a $20 bill and hands me the 20. It cost like $15 or whatever it was. He hands me the 20, makes a gesture, says, hey, you get to, he says, hey, you get, keep the change. And of course, I'm in Park City, Utah, and I'm 15, 20 feet from Michael Jordan. So I'll tell people this is my shot. So I asked, hey, can I say hi to Mike? Or can we say hi to Mike? Because it was the two of us there. And so I can't remember this part, whether the trainer opened the door and asked, or whether Mike just heard me ask, or whatever it was. By the way, I did not step into the room. We weren't leering in, trying to look through the cracks or anything along those lines. So sorry, I laugh when he says that. But anyway, so either way, Mike's got his back to us. He opens up the door a little bit more, and I remember Mike raised his hand. Thanks, man. The trainer turned and looked at me and shut the door. And I said, I guess we're done here. And there you go. And that is literally the entire. That's factual. That's what happened. I went home, regaled everybody with the wondrous 10 seconds of whatever it is, a fandom or whatever you want to call it, and that's what happened.
And 22 years later, you're on ESPN San Antonio, reliving the evening.
Craig,
yes,
so
know, boy, it is crazy.
So what is it like to be in this special, because this documentary is something that the whole world experienced together, and you're in this special club with like Horace Grant, who is scorned, and the Indiana Pacers woman that came out of the news, does all these commercials. Like you are this like special figure. I mean, I know it's all, still happening, but what is that like? I mean, to process all of it?
It's crazy is obviously the easiest way to describe it. But to me, this has been the story. I've had this story and told this story for 23 years almost, right? And isn't it ironic? It's 23 years, right? Or almost 23 years. But as that happens, so to me, it's kind of like, well, no, I won't say the word, but no kidding, guys. It's, I've been trying to tell people this is what happened. And so now having this entire scenario go up, what really kind of sent me off was when he popped off with, it's a bunch of crap is what it is, but he popped off. There were 5 guys. There was only one place, and he was emphatic, and I didn't like it, and all those kind of things. None of that happened. I don't remember what he remembered and all that fun stuff, but that's what kind of made me go, okay, I got to say something.
All right, so Craig, as you're watching this is an incredible documentary. You said you're a Bulls fan, so you're probably glued to this, and now they're telling this story that maybe when it started, you wondered if you were going to get mentioned in there, as the pizza guy, because you've been selling this story for 20 years, how you delivered a pizza to Michael Jordan. But honestly, as I hear this, while you're having some fun with it, you also sound a little pissed off with the way you were characterized in this, knowing that it was you, even that they didn't do it by name.
Right. Well, I had put on Facebook, I had mentioned a couple of 3 years, I want to say it was 2018, whatever. I had put in, it was probably the anniversary of the game or something like that, probably in June or something of 2018. I had put on Facebook the story, wrote it down, put it on there. And then this Monday after it came out again, just as, hey, just put it out there, because now I'm like, okay, why not? Let's get it out there and see who will grab onto this, because this is a bunch of crap. I didn't like this guy saying that. And because it's just wrong. I think the thing that really kind of ticked me off about it wasn't so much me, and nobody would, since nobody ever investigated it. Nobody got called at the Pizza Hut. Nothing ever came of this. He never went to the doctor, my understanding. Everyone insinuated that he got food poisoning. Anyway, so from that whole thing, when the guy came in and make it sound like the Jazz fans, there were 5 crazy guys that showed up and they got him sick and they did it on purpose. And that's why I always laugh. I'm like, no one's trying to commit a felony here. What the crap? I'm sorry, there were only 2 of us. And so that's what kind of got me, if you will, pissed off about it.
He is Craig Fite. He is the guy that delivered the pizza on that fateful night that created the legend of the flu game. And you know what, Craig? I'm kind of going down the same path you are. I'm not sure how sick this dude was at all. I think this just went into the idea of the aura of Michael and the legend that was nearly 23 years ago. In 25 years, he will have been in a coma. It will go continually worse until he rose from the dead to hit that shot over Brian Russell.
Right. He came back from being kidnapped or something.
No, Craig, as we go through this and we hear your story, and I think it's fascinating. You know, your story is your story. What they said on The Last Dance, and again, we're all going from 20 years ago. I'm curious of something that I saw on your Facebook page. A guy named Steve Perry says, I was the GM for Pizza Hut at the time. My story, I remember it differently. I don't know how close you are with this Steve Perry guy, but what story is this guy going to tell, or is he just trying to get 15 minutes of fame too?
Steve was the GM there. Oh, no. Hey, I hear you. Steve, all of a sudden, out of the blue, I haven't heard from Steve since, I worked at Pizza Hut, and then he left, and I became the store manager there. So I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know his story and how he remembers it. I don't remember Steve being there, and because I kind of always make the joke. I'm like, I think I left, and I was the manager on duty. I can't remember. Like I said, I was new there at the time, and of course, the whole event is more what I remember and not all the details of the minutiae, if you will, of what was going on at work. But that's what happened. I've told that story forever, and that's exactly. Maybe he was the one that called me to say that I was getting way to help the Jazz fans or something along those lines. I can't remember that part, but that's what I remember.
Craig,
I since day one I've told that story that way, and that's what happened.
Well, if I was you, I'd go hire an agent, cash in on this, my friend. There's money
write
out
a
there to
book.
be made. I'm not sure where it is, but they will figure it out for you. Go get yourself an agent. You are now famous around the world. You and the Tiger King are now top of the list of all those that are paying attention to the streaming world.
JJ Watt got a hell of a Pizza Hut endorsement after they heard his story about how he used to deliver in college, and I'm seeing this old woman doing commercials for Coors Light because she put up a sign during the pandemic that said she needed beer and wanted a Coors Light. She's making so you're going to be in Pizza Hut commercials before you know it, man.
Craig, the cover of the book needs to look like a pizza box. Okay, like just tell the graphic designer that's what it's got to look like.
Yeah, and when you buy it, it's put into a delivery sleeve. There you go.
Oh, dude,
absolutely
exactly.
Perfect.
You're already
Marketing
thinking the
101.
right lines, Craig. You got to cash it on this while you can, man. That iron doesn't stay hot for long. Craig Fite right here on ESPN San Antonio. Thank you so much for clearing things up and regaling us with a story that all of us across the country are talking about. Craig Fite right here on ESPN San Antonio. Stay safe, Craig, and enjoy this ride.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time.
Craig Fite right here on ESPN San Antonio. You ain't getting that no place else. Let's give all the credit to Jason Minix for digging that up. Going through the Facebooks, man, lurking on the Facebooks and getting an interview. That is modern journalism at its finest. Craig Fite right here. If you showed up midway through this, I got good news for you. You're going to be able to get it again. Go to ESPN San Antonio. Go to ESPNSA.com. The AA Best Bail Bonds audio vault. The entire interview with Craig Fite, the pizza guy, will be there. When we come back, boy, we got questions. RJ's question of the day right here on the Blitz. 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, and on the go at ESPNSA.com.